The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Hey, good morning, everyone. It's 5 a.m. I'm Maddie Jansen. We begin with our Sierra snowmelt coverage. Some campgrounds of Yosemite National Park have been closed for weeks now, and here's why. The melting snowpack has prompted flooding in several areas throughout the park. Right now, the Merced River is at least 2 feet above flood stage, and it's overflowing its banks. But take a look at the water just gushing out of this waterfall here. If you want to see in person, you still can, because there are areas of the park open. However, visitors are being warned to be careful when traveling through the park and not go near the fast-moving water. For the first time in 17 years, state officials are opening a rarely used water bypass canal in response to the melting snowpack. The Kern River Intertie, which connects to the California Aqueduct, will now divert water to the south away from Tulare Lake. The lake has flooded hundreds of square miles of low-lying farmland, and it threatens nearby communities, most notably the town of Corcoran. Over the next 2 months, we are told the amount of redirected water would be enough to supply 250,000 homes for a full year. Some water districts in Kern County that contract with the State Water Project will receive a portion of that excess floodwater. Meantime, crews in Fresno County are putting up new signs telling people to stay out of the water. This comes after a tragedy in the Kings River. 2 children, 8 and 4 years old, swept away and killed by the rushing water. Ben Morris with our sister station reports on the loss and the message to others who might choose to ignore the warning.
Search and rescue teams out on the Kings River as early as 7 Monday morning. Continuing the second day of the search for an unidentified 4-year-old boy on the raging Kings River.
It was pretty soon after they arrived at the river that this happened. So it was just like as they were getting to the location where they wanted to picnic or set up is when the kids fell in.
The 8-year-old girl found dead only about an hour into the search on Sunday after a 40-person team conducted an extensive search in the water and from the air.
4 boats in the water and our helicopter overhead, and we also had a drone team searching.
They finally found the body of her brother Monday around 10:30 a.m., nearly 2 miles down from where he went in the river. Tragedy leaving first responders shaken.
This is a hugely tragic situation that could have been prevented. It's a very sad situation, and our hearts go out to the family.
The Kings River, San Joaquin River, and surrounding parks have been closed due to intense runoff from a historic snowmelt in the Sierra. Rescuers say this tragedy is proof that going into the water can quickly turn deadly.
Hopefully that this is a lesson and people really take warning and really take this seriously, that it's no joke. We can't have people recreating around the water because of how dangerous it is.
Monday, deputies installing new signs along the river. They say they've been forcing people out of the closed areas constantly.
We're opening the park so we can use them for searching, and people are just flooding in there. We really want to get that word out there that the river's closed, it's extremely dangerous, and please find alternative ways to recreate.
Making news around the nation, the pressure to raise the debt ceiling is growing more intense as the June 1st deadline approaches. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Biden met one-on-one as jobs, the country's reputation, and the future of our economy are on the line. NBC's Bray Jackson is in Washington.
That our debt is too large.
Different meeting, same outcome. No deal on raising the debt limit this morning following a high-stakes talk between President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Both called the one-on-one discussion productive.
We only talked about where our differences were. We talked about items that ideas to find that. So we're asking the staff to get back and run through those ideas to see if we could come to an agreement.
President Biden expressed optimism even before the meeting started.
We still have some disagreements, but I think we may be able to get where we have to go.
Negotiation teams held late-night talks on Capitol Hill where divisions over spending cuts remain.
It was very important that we spend less money next year than we're spending this year. That was imperative to us.
President Biden has offered House Republicans is to freeze spending at current fiscal year levels. and the extreme MAGA Republicans have rejected.
In a letter to congressional leadership, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen doubled down on the June 1st deadline, warning a default could cause severe hardship to American families. Across the country, there's a growing sense of frustration.
They'll make it happen. Otherwise, they won't be in office come the next time it comes for elections.
With Social Security checks and other benefits hanging in the balance, there's increasing pressure on federal leaders to act. And Speaker McCarthy says that new tax revenues and military spending cuts are off the table when it comes to reducing the deficit. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
It has been 4 days since jurors convicted Trezell and Jacqueline West for the murder of one of their adopted sons and deadlocked on charges related to the other. So what happens next? Will the couple be retried on those other charges? 17's Michaela Armstrong spoke with those close to the case.
Find the defendant, Trezell West, guilty of felony, to wit, murder in the second degree. Find the defendant, Jacqueline West, guilty of felony, to wit, murder in the second degree.
Days after jurors found Jacqueline and Trezell West guilty of 5 out of the 7 charges against them, it is easy to wonder what is next when both of the bodies of Orrin and Orson West still have not been found. Striking emotions and all close to the case.
Could have been my girls. We love these kids. These are our kids. Those 2 little boys are our boys. They're Bakersfield boys. And I just don't want any other parents to go through what the biological family are going through. It's very hard.
Though the Wests were found guilty of murdering 4-year-old Orrin, jurors failed to reach verdicts on murder and conspiracy in connection with 3-year-old Orson's death. Criminal defense attorney Mark Raimondo says now it is up to DA Cynthia Zimmer if she wants to pursue a retrial.
I think the district attorney is going to take into great consideration the family's feelings, right? In addition to what is the cost-benefit analysis of that. I mean, they're going to get mandatory life sentences already. Personally, I'd be surprised if they do go forward given the multiple life sentences each of the defendants face.
Raimondo says as the family processes the verdict, a retrial could take them through the emotions of the trial all over again.
The trial's very trying on the families as well, right? And emotionally draining on the families as well. So they may all want some closure. I wouldn't be surprised if the family does seek some closure once the sentences are imposed.
Another option in this case could be the West negotiating their sentence by confessing where Orrin and Orson are if they in fact know. Yet Raimondo says that seems unlikely at this point.
Could they negotiate it away for show us where the bodies are? Perhaps, but I think that ship has already sailed.
Yet many questions as to what could happen next remain. Michaela Armstrong, 17 News.
In your 17 follow-up file, an 18-year-old who hit speeds of more than 100 miles per hour when he crashed into a woman pleaded not guilty to charges of second-degree murder and gross vehicular manslaughter. The crash happened April 25th on Campus Park Drive near Old River Road in White Lane. Police say Kareem Rayad was under the influence of marijuana when he veered into opposite lanes of traffic and slammed into 66-year-old Gayla Sue Price. A prosecutor noted Rayad lost an arm a year ago in another crash that he caused and has numerous other warnings about his reckless driving and impairment. Rayad is being held without bail and is due back in court next week. You may remember the frightening moments caught on camera. 2 middle school students walking home from school when someone appears to try to kidnap them. We're learning now what the suspect had to say in his defense, according to new court filings. This all happened about a month ago on Hageman Road. The 2 teens were walking home from Freedom Middle School when a stranger grabs one of the girls by her breasts. The girls got away, and thanks to some detective work by one of the victims' moms, they tracked down 22-year-old Timothy Kinsaveth. He was arrested, but court documents say he told police he thought the girl was 18 and he only wanted to talk. Kinsaveth denied touching the girl inappropriately. He's been charged with sexual battery and annoying a child, and he'll be in court next Friday. A tentative resolution this morning in the case of Austin Sherrill, who was fired as a courtesy clerk at a local Vaughn's grocery store. That's not the resolution many were hoping for. That termination came after reports of Sherrill being attacked on or near property 3 times over the course of 3 months. Cheryl has autism, and he participated in a hearing last week with union representatives and a Vaughn's human resources official who ultimately upheld Cheryl's firing. His family says the reason is because Cheryl pushed a drunken customer after that customer punched Cheryl in the face multiple times as a store manager stood by watching. The union says it is moving forward to the next step, which is arbitration. Our efforts to contact Vaughn's were not successful. Making news around the nation, tomorrow will mark a year since the horrific attack at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas. 19 students and 2 teachers gunned down by an 18-year-old with a semi-automatic assault rifle and a cache of ammunition. Surveillance video from the attack showed multiple police officers waiting in the hallways of the school, some for more than an hour before confronting that gunman. The pain still lingers in the tiny South Texas community, but there's also been anger building there for the last 12 months. Jay Gray is in Uvalde this morning with a closer look.
It's been a year of memories, memorials, and pain.
This is something that we live with, not even just every day, every second, you know, and just imagine everything you love getting ripped from you.
Adding to their anguish, 12 months of what they describe as inaction, indifference, and a lack of accountability from investigators and state lawmakers. Frustration shared by Uvalde's mayor.
I've said over and over, everybody that was there that day has to be held accountable, whether it be the school police department, the Uvalde Police Department, every agency that was there. And this is my opinion. It's been a bunch of BS that we've been a year and we're still waiting for answers that we are.
For months, families of the victims have traveled back and forth to the state capitol.
I am the mother of Lexi Rubio, a victim of the Robb Elementary shooting in Uvalde.
Sharing their grief, searching for answers, and pushing for stronger gun laws in Texas. But to this point, nothing has changed.
We're allowing these people to use these guns to murder people, and it doesn't make any sense.
And so, they'll continue their fight, because while the calendar may say it's been a year since the massacre, for parents whose children will never come home, time doesn't really matter anymore.
There's no moving on. I'm stuck on that day, and I will forever be stuck on that day.
Jay Gray, NBC News, Uvalde.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.